Okay. All right. So welcome to the Team One call. Today is August the 24th, 2015, and we are going to talk about color codes. So this is going to be all about discovering your coach's needs and your customers' needs and what they want. And it's also something that you can begin to apply with your friends and your family and your spouse and anybody else that you come into contact with, maybe people that you work with as well. I don't know about you guys, but I know that I have struggled a lot lately with communication. And I'm realizing that it's because of my personality. And, there's just been sort of a disconnect. Like I can't figure out a way to really connect with my coaches and my customers. And now I know why. I know why because of my personality. And, it's who I am. But that's not an excuse. So that means that I can learn to manipulate my personality a little bit so that I can communicate with others better. And I know that if I'm feeling this way, then I'm sure you guys are too at some point in your life. Okay. So let me screen share my desktop. There it is. Okay. So can you guys see me at all? Let me try this. I can't see you.
You're in the...
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I can't see you guys at all. So, all right. So I'm just going to talk and pretend I'm just talking to a screen. Okay. So as I said, this is about our personality, and this is the why we do what we do, why we act a certain way, why we say things a certain way, and why some people are like all over certain tasks, and while others, it takes like years for them to go for something. And it all is based on a science, believe it or not. And I'm becoming really fascinated with this science. It goes back to when we were a child. That's why I really like this color code personality test. I mean, there are so many personality tests that you can take. In fact, I just took one a month or so back with the life coach I hired. And it was funny because it was a pretty in-depth test, and I kept pushing back. I'm like, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me. And when it all came back around, I was like, whoa, that is so me. And I answered questions based on who I am now and the way I am now. So that's why I really like this one, this color code, because it goes back to when you were a kid. So if you haven't taken the test, I want you to go ahead and take the test sometime this week as soon as you can. This goes back, like this is your intrinsic personality. This is who you are all the way down to your core. So, there are so many things that really influence our personality, and it's our environment, it's our life experiences, it's our family, our upbringing, education, cultural values, all kinds of things like that. But, we are who we are at our core, despite all of that, despite all of those outward influences. And, as an adult, especially, we are allowed and we do make choices and decisions based on, what we've learned and based on an environment. But, you may want to go a certain way, but because of your education, you go another way. So, this is going to tell you how you are motivated and how you perform best. So if you are talking about your team or your customers, like I'm going to tell you how you can tie all this in and give you examples as well so that it's a learning experience. But, this is going to bring out your best self and your core motive. Make sure that is being honored as well while you are trying to communicate with other people, if that makes kind of sense, kind of a hot mess. So as a leader, you are a leader, and you're a leader of your family, your team, your customers, your challenge group. Maybe you're a leader at work, your church. So many areas in which you really are a leader. If you are friends with other people, you're a leader. So it's really important to start thinking of yourself as that. And this is going to help you really step up and maybe step away from that one track mind that we have that is, of course, our core motive or our core personality. And this is going to be able to help you deal or respond or motivate or encourage other people. Okay? So this is the Color Code Personality Test. You find it at colorcode.com. And we're going to go ahead and start with the first slide. Please. Go. There we go. Okay, so there are 4 different colors. There's a white, blue, red, and yellow according to this particular personality test. And each one has, like I said, its core motive. So as you take the test, you're probably, or maybe you're even thinking about, who you think you are now based on what the color is. But the color really doesn't mean anything, just FYI. The color is just something that I guess maybe the particular personality might be drawn to, but it really doesn't say exactly what that person is. Okay, so I don't know why they chose the colors. I'll see if I can research that and let you know. But so, and as I go through this, I want you to begin to think about people in your life on what you think their color might be. And then, of course, have them take your test, and you'll be able to communicate and work with them so much better. So as I said, the color code is based on your core motive. It goes back to your needs and your wants, and it helps develop you into the person that you are. Now, as you go through life, you develop values and behaviors, and you have a certain lifestyle. And it's those upper 3 tiers where most personality tests they tend to focus on, and those are the questions they ask you based on where you are now in your life. But again, this one has been gone way, way back, so that this is who you truly are all the way down to the core. All right, so as I said, there are 4 colors. So red is that is all about power. That is the driving core motive. Okay, blues are all about intimacy. Whites are about peace, and yellows are fun. So by the way, I'll let you know who I am. I am about 52% yellow and 38-ish% red with like 5% blue and 4% white. So maybe as I go through each of these descriptions, you'll go, oh, that's why she is the way she is. And that's why she's such a butthole to me all the time. Or maybe like if you're the complete opposite, maybe that's why you think about that. But so we're going to start with red. And the reds, like sole purpose, or it's what am I trying to say? Let me look at my notes. It's natural talent, I guess, is leadership and vision. So reds are your get it done, go from point A to point B kind of person. They're the person that if you ask them to do something, they're going to get it taken care of, and they're going to get it done pretty quickly. They are very results driven. They are very productive, and that's because they're so focused on getting from point A to point B. Okay? Reds have a natural ability to cast like a wide net, a huge vision, and they are excellent leaders because of that vision. They're able to help others see that vision and and move towards that vision. Reds are pretty responsible most of the time. They're very decisive. They like to make decisions, and they like to make them quick decisions. They don't like to beat around the bush. They just go. Reds are very proactive. So if you have someone on your team that is that go-getter, they're the ones that you don't even have to really put through a training. They just start doing. That lets you know right then that their primary color or their primary personality is the red. They're also very, very assertive. So I'm also going to talk about the limitations and how you can motivate these people on your team or in your challenge groups. So reds have some limitations, and they are very selfish. They come across as insensitive because they're very focused and they're just going from point A to point B. So, if they're in the midst of doing a task, they will come off as insensitive. That's not necessarily the case, but that's how they come across to others. They are argumentative, impatient, and always want to be right. I don't know if you can think, maybe your spouse is like this. Maybe you're like this. I know that I have a lot of red in me. So how do you motivate a red? Well, reds are the ones that seek productivity. They need to look good in front of other people. They like to be at the top of their class. They like to be the leader. They are typically your CEOs or your presidents of company. They want their way all the time. They like to be in the driver's seat, and they are the ones that are willing to pay the price to be in that leadership role no matter what. So they value, whatever it is they value, it's what will get them ahead in life. So if it's their career, their school, their personal life, their relationships, if that's what's going to move them further along, that's what they value. However, reds are very strong-willed, and so they're not going to do something that doesn't interest them, okay? So how you can motivate reds, you can offer them leadership abilities. So like if you have a red on your team, make them an admin of your group. Allow them to run some trainings. Ask them to run some trainings for you or with you. Help them. Or if you have maybe a challenger in your challenge group that is that red personality, put them in charge of like a motivational post every day, or posting a couple times a week, or calling people out, keeping track of, if you're doing a system of like a tally system, put them in charge of that so that they are taking on that leadership role. They're going to step up. Like I said, that's what they love to do, and they're natural at that. So, so think about the people in your groups and on your team, or maybe in your life, kids that are reds. Reds are motivated by numbers. So give them facts and figures. I have a lot of red in my personality, and most of you guys, if y'all know me, you know that I am all about the numbers. Like I know how to build huge volume. I know how to really build a successful business based on numbers. So if you have that red, give them the numbers, give them the facts, give them just the very direct information. Be very, very specific with them. Support them with correct decisions. Like if they are correct or right, let them know that. They like to be right. They like to know that they are, leading the pack. So make sure that if you have a red on your team, you are letting them know. And if you have to communicate with a red, you have to be very direct and very specific. So if, and we'll get to the other colors, but if you're that person that hates conflict or doesn't like to approach someone, a red is going to run all over you. So, as you begin to learn and develop these characteristics, you can have a little bit of each color in you. It may be uncomfortable, but you're going to get the respect and you're going to get what you need accomplished if you are that direct person to the red. Okay? So next, we have blue. So the blue personality is all about intimacy, and their natural talent is quality, and they're all about service. So your blues are going to be your yes people. They're going to be your givers. They are the person that is focused on relationships and really connecting with people and adding a lot of value to people. They are the ones that love having a purpose And whatever it is, whether it's that task that they're doing or the relationship that they're building, they want to make sure that it's all about quality. Has nothing to do with quantity. Red's a quantity person. Blue is the quality person. Again, they're all about service. They're very, very loyal, very sincere, and very thoughtful. So let's talk about business for a second when it comes to a blue. So like I said, a red is all about the numbers. So say we're talking about Success Club. Success Club is that benchmark of building a successful business. So if you have a business builder on your team and you see that maybe they have 4 Success Club points, and you know that they just need 1 more point to hit Success Club. So a red, you're like, hey, you've got 4 Success Club points. You just need 1 more to get out there and get it done. Okay? They'll be like, yes, that's all I needed. A blue would be like, they would recoil at that. Like they just kind of are standoffish and they could be completely turned off. So how you would talk to a blue personality is say, okay, you are so close to hitting Success Club, so I want you to go out and help 5 people. Like I want you to set goals with them and really connect with them and change their life. That is what's going to drive that blue person and not a red. Okay? Now, blues also have limitations. They're very self-righteous. They're very overly sensitive. So think about maybe someone in your life that they kind of wear their feelings on their sleeves, and you have to be very, very careful with how you say something to them. That's why they're probably a blue personality. They're also a perfectionist, and because of that, they tend to worry a lot. Okay, they worry about what people think about them. They worry about hurting someone's feelings. They worry about pretty much anything and everything. And then when they set expectations, they set unrealistic expectations. So, I mean, they're the dreamers. They're the encouragers and the motivators. And so if you're telling them to dream, they're going to think, oh my gosh, yes, I can do this. And like I can hit $1 million in like a month's time. Why? Because it's all about feelings and it's all about that sensitivity. So how do you motivate a blue that's on your team or in your challenge group? Well, like I said, blues are all about relationships. So they need to be understood and they need to be appreciated. Everything that they do is quality-based. They are very, very loyal to their friends, their coworkers, their employers, their employees, and whoever they commit to or whatever they commit to, that is their focus. They're very focused on that person or that task. And they will give themselves very freely in order to love and serve and enhance others' lives. So keep this in mind as you're talking to a blue on your team, okay? So how you motivate them, you want to appreciate them, and you want to show sincerity. Now, a blue personality can tell if you're being sincere or not. So if you are reaching out to them because you know that this is what they need, you really do need to talk or speak from your heart because they're going to be able to see right through you. So for example, I have a lot of that red personality, and so I am task oriented and I'm numbers driven. And so I try to get from point A to point B, and I know that they can get from point A to point B, and I see the direct path. Well, if I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so great. And I just love how you're loving on everybody. Are you kidding me? That is not sincere at all. And they're going to be able to see right through that because that's my agenda and not theirs. So really think about who you're talking to and make sure that they feel secure and they feel loved in the relationship and that you're very sincere and that you appreciate them. Promote their creative efforts and ambitions. Blues are, like I said, they're the givers. So how you can bring that into your groups, make sure, give them a task of making someone feel like a Wednesday warrior, or give them a task of putting them in charge of shout outs on your team, or noticing and congratulating when others are doing really, really good. That gives them that sense of purpose, and that makes them feel really, really great. Okay. And they feel like they are doing exactly what they were meant to do on this planet. And when you talk to someone, make sure you take more of a sensitive approach. So I have very little blue in me. And so in the past, when I've talked to someone, like I said, I'm very direct and very upfront, and I don't have time to go, oh, I love you, love you, love you, love you. And then, and then get to it. And then I love you, love you, love you again. I've learned that I have to be this way. One of my children is like this. And I'm finding that my husband needs this as well. So, make sure that you are more sensitive in how you word things. You can be very direct, but loving at the same time. And it's all about personal development, and it's all about educating yourself on how and what to say. Okay? The next one is white. White is all about peace. So their core strength, or their natural talent, is tolerance and clarity. So when you have a white personality, you will be more of a quieter person. You're going to be the person that is not the loudmouth and not the person that is the center of attention. They're going to be the person that steps back and is the observer. They're the type of personality that looks at the big picture. Okay? They're not the details oriented. They see everything as a whole. So if you have this personality, like I said, you have a lot of clarity, more tolerance. Tolerance is where you accept and you love pretty much everyone. And that's a really great quality to have. Whites typically are very, very kind. They adapt to the surroundings very, very well. They're patient, diplomatic, more gentle, and even-tempered. And that is a very good characteristic to have. That's not something that I have and I'm learning to have, but that is a very good characteristic to have as a leader. Now, whites' limitations. Well, they're very indecisive. Like I said, they look at the big picture. So whites are looking at all the angles. They are trying to make sure that everyone is happy and everyone is feels good. And so therefore, there's that barrier of making decisions because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They are stubborn, but they're very stubborn silently. They just don't let you know it. They avoid conflict. And sometimes in a leadership role, you have to address conflict. So this is something that a lot of times will get in their way. Whites come across as unexpressive and detached. And like I said, it's because they're looking at the big picture. They are listening. Whites are amazing listeners. And when they're listening to people, they probably don't show a lot of emotion and they're not engaging with people. So it comes across as detached. Again, that's not a bad characteristic at all. It's actually a very good one, but that can be a limitation or that could be a negative if you have someone who is predominantly yellow and I'm like, what's wrong with them? Why are they not interacting with me? Why are they not like fist bumping me and engaging in the conversation? That's why. Now, whites are very, very independent and require kindness. They hate confrontation, like I said, and they will avoid it at all costs. To them, feeling good and making sure others feel good is more important than actually being the best. Again, opposite of a red. Reds don't care what everybody else thinks. They just want to be the best, right? Whites are typically very quiet, and they're going to process things differently, and they're going to process things with more of an objective nature and with more clarity. So like I said, of all the colors, whites are your best listeners. They respect people as a whole, and they respect people who are very direct. But if you are attacking them, or you're more of a hostile person, or you're going to engage in that verbal battle, they're going to step away. They want no part of it. Okay? So how can you motivate a white in your group, on your team, in your family? Well, practice patience. You want to try not to rush them. You want to hear them out, and you want to listen quietly and carefully. So one of the things about the white personality is that they're not going to approach you, most likely. If they need an opinion or something, that it's going to be very hard for them to reach out to you. So it's your job as a leader to make sure you reach out to those personalities that are white. But when you do, you have to zip it. Like, you have to shut your mouth. And I have such a hard time with that. Something I'm learning. And, they're very good listeners, so they expect you to be the same thing. So when you're talking to someone, make sure you listen, and you really hear everything that they have to say. Okay. When it comes to whites, how you can motivate them, you have to look for more of the nonverbal cues. Verbal cues are going to come from your yellows and your reds. Typically, your blues and your whites are more nonverbal, and you have to be open and be very direct with them, but you have to be very, very kind and very loving. So whites are going to be the personality that would be awesome for you to share your ideas with, to bounce ideas off of, because like I said, they're very, very good listeners. So if you want to know something, they're going to listen to everything, and then they're going to give you their honest opinion. So if you have whites on your team, that would be the person that I would share ideas with. The yellows, you can definitely do that, but they're going to interrupt you, and they're not going to listen. And I'm going to go through all this in just a second. But, the blues might be just a little bit oversensitive, and reds are just like, whatever, it's my idea. My idea is better, not yours. So whites would be the person that you want to bounce your ideas off of. So that's how you can motivate your team and really get them engaged, or your challengers, really get them engaged by asking them sincere questions. Now, yellows are all about fun, and their core strength is enthusiasm and being optimistic. So yellows are all about living in the moment. They, like I said, they're very enthusiastic. I don't know if you can tell, but I am a lot yellow. They are very charismatic. I'm talking with my hands, and they're very spontaneous. They like to do things on a whim. They're very social, playful, and accepting of others. Yellows have some fun limitations, and you're probably going to laugh, but they are uncommitted. They are very disorganized, and those of you that know me, you're like, oh, for the love. That's probably one of the things that drives you the most crazy, is that I'm all over the place and kind of a hot mess. And but I do lead with my heart, and that is a great quality of yellows. Yellows are afraid to face the facts. So basically, they would rather not know, and they would rather pretend to be all happy than know exactly what's going on. Yellows are unfocused, therefore forgetful, and very impulsive. And those are all big, big weaknesses of mine that I'm trying to work on. So how do you motivate a yellow? Well, yellows are inviting, and they view life as a party. They love more playful interaction, more fun interaction, and they're extremely sociable. They are highly persuasive, and they seek instant gratification. So this is very, very important. If you have a yellow on your team, that instant gratification is extremely important. It's important for you as a leader to show them the big picture. So versus just the here and now. So like if you have someone, say a challenger, that needs to lose 60 pounds and they are a yellow, they're going to get very frustrated if they don't lose like 30 of it by tomorrow. Okay. So it's very, very important for you to show them, to show them how to slow down, number one, and how to see that long-term vision, and to see that, you know what, this goal is not going to get reached tomorrow. If you stick with it and you keep this same energy that you have now, you will reach it. But this is what you have to do in order to get there. If you have someone on your team as a business builder, help them with the instant gratification of maybe getting a paycheck of some sort or hitting a certain goal. But, viewing like retirement early, that would be very, very hard for a yellow to see and to vision and to work towards. Reds are all about that. Blues, it just takes them a while to get there. Whites, it takes forever to really see that long-term vision because they're overanalyzing everything, okay? So yellows are the complete opposite of all three of those. They need it right here and right now. Yellows need to be adored. They need to be praised. They need that recognition. So if you are not that person that wants to, maybe it's harder for you to recognize, that's just one of the things that you have to suck up, and you have to maybe make that a priority on your to-do list. So yellows are very carefree. They're spontaneous. They are, they just go, right? But they are very, very sensitive too. And this is not something that most people pick up on because of how positive and how optimistic they are and how vibrant and buoyant they are. They tend to bounce back very, very quickly. But they are very sensitive and can get hurt pretty easily. They just happen to forgive very easily. So if you are that person that is that more controlling person, yellows don't like that. They do not like to be like caught in a box. So I'm just using me as an example. I'm a perfect example of that. Do you tell me to, and my friend Natalie Tuman, she gets so irritated at me because, for 3 years now, I'm like, okay, I got to lose 30 pounds. I got to lose 30 pounds. And she's like, well, this is how you do it. Bam, 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 bam. You cannot drink wine. You cannot have a cheeseburger. You cannot do this. And I'm like, don't tell me I can't do it, because that right there makes me want to just force this box. So yellows typically carry a really good heart. They have that heart. They lead with their heart, and they typically have others' best interest in mind. So how do you motivate a yellow? Well, you promote creativity and you make things fun. So a great opportunity for you to really engage your yellows is to have them think of really fun ideas or really cool prizes, or for your challengers, or for reaching certain goals, or maybe put them in charge of like a team building event or something like that. Anything that's fun, they want to be in charge of it. Offer lots of praise and lots of appreciation and lots of encouragement. When you're talking to someone that is a yellow, you want to make sure that you are more upbeat and more positive. Anytime, even if it's a negative situation and you put that upswing on it, they're going to be very receptive to what you have to say. And just remember that even though yellows tend to be happy most of the time, they are more sensitive than they appear. So just keep that in mind as you talk to them. Okay? So when I took the test, I started scrolling down, started reading all about the different colors, and something I saw. I'm not going to go through this, but I'll actually post this in our team page. But there are ways that you can approach someone, the best way that you can help that relationship with each color based on who you are, and then also ways that you need to avoid. Okay, so these are, I just thought this was so, so, so cool. Just remember who you're dealing with each color and how you approach them, and then also some things on what not to do. So, I will post this on our team page, so make sure you take a look at that and ask questions as you need. So this I thought was a really cool slide, and it's based on how you interact with other colors. So the person directly across from you is your complete opposite. Okay. And so if you have someone on your team or in your group or on your friends that you're just like, oh my gosh, they make you want to pull your hair out. This is why. And, you have your non-complementary opposites, which are these right here. So these two clash more. Okay. And then this is going to be the person that you work with the most. So, or that tend to have that, there's that non-compete, the non-compete clause. The person directly across from you is typically the person that you work well with because they're not trying to step on toes. But actually, and then the person like this, I guess, these are my two anyway. I'm a yellow and I'm a red, and so therefore I work very, very well with yellows and reds, and I have a hard time with blues. So anyway, very, very cool. And again, I'm just stepping into this, and I'm learning so much about the different personalities, and I'm starting to get really fascinated with it. So if you see a lot of this kind of stuff from me, now you know why. Okay, so what do you do with this information? Well, number one, complete the test for yourself. And you start with you. Once you complete the test, and if you put in that code, like after you take the test and you are reading what your primary color is, they don't give you all the rest of them, but right underneath there's going to be a box, and it's for a code. And if you put Beachbody Coach, capital B, capital C, then you will get the whole test for free. It's normally $40, and they'll give you everything, and they tell you how you can really enhance your personalities and things that you need to work on. I shared mine with my husband, and he was just dying laughing. He was like, oh my gosh, now I know. But start with you, figure out what it is where your strengths are, figure out what your weaknesses are, and really enhance those strengths, and then start to bring your weaknesses up to where they are strengths. Get your team page, post the color test on there, and try to get a discussion going on. Do you attract more of you, or do you attract your opposite? And if you attract your opposite, well, how do you work with these people? It's really, really important. Okay. If you are going to do this in your accountability groups or in your challenge groups, oh my gosh, I just posted this in my accountability group, my challenge group, because I want to know how I can best serve my customers, and, and why it takes them forever to get on board, or maybe, if they're pushing back on, if I offer some information, if they're pushing back, well, now I know why, based on what their personality is. Add it to your new coach onboarding process. So like I said, and you guys know me, you know that I love to get to know the coaches on my team. I want to have that tight-knit team, and I want to have that awesome culture, and I want to surround myself with like-minded people. Like-minded doesn't mean exactly the same. Like-minded people that we all have the same vision, and we are all working towards goals to better our lives, our families, and our futures. But I want to be able to work cohesively, and I want to learn from everybody on my team. So as new coaches join my team, you can bet I'm going to start adding this in there so that I can really get to know what makes them tick, so I get to know what makes them motivated and helps them really go for the goals that they really, really want, and not the goals that just what I want. That in the past, that's where I've really failed my team, is that I talk to my team based on what I want and not what they want. So you can see a lot of this coming in, and for now, I apologize for what I've done in the past and how I've maybe approached things or say some things, but just know that I am definitely working on me and trying to get better. So before maybe having a one-on-one call with your coaches or your customers, remind yourself of what their color is, and then go into that call or that meeting with the mindset of what they are, so you know exactly how to empower them, and you know what drives them and what motivates them. And it's based on their needs and not yours. So that is, let me get out of this. So that is all I have. And I hope that maybe you learned some things. I wanna get your feedback on this. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions right now, but I am excited to take it and see, because I know that just from going over what you just did, there's several things and I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like that's more me. And then I'm like, well, so I'll be curious to see exactly where my breakdown is, where my strongest color comes from.
Absolutely. And make sure that you share with your team what you are. Because that, I mean, like I said, when you're working with a whole bunch of different personalities, and especially women, and women and men, like now I know why Jim and I clash so much when it comes to business. It's just so important to see. And then like if you take the full test, it gives you what your top two, and oh my Lanta, that's all I can say. You're just like, duh. and it tells you why you are the way you are. And it's very, very cool. Yeah. I just got
Sorry, I'm still on my mute, but thanks for sharing this. I think this would be really interesting.
You bet. Who else do we got on here? Sharon's on. So Sharon, I know you're on. So yes, she shared with me that she's a white. So going into our one-on-one call that we have today, I will be able to change the way I talk. So that makes yeah. Whew, I got a lot of learning to do. So do you feel like this will help you guys? And do you feel like it maybe will help your team culture with you, not only just your coaches, but your challengers as well? I feel like it's so important that we even get to know our challengers. Like I'm going to definitely do that. So I know know how to motivate them.
I think it will help with the challengers. When I was a training manager, I used to do a shape thing, either a circle, a square, or triangle. And whichever one they picked, I would know how they would want to be talked to. So there's so many different personalities, and just whichever one works for you. And it's important, to, like, if you're telling me that, oh, go help 5 people, I'm like, okay, yes, but if you're like, dude, you could make $200 if you did this, I'm like, done. It's numbers and facts, and it's funny how we all tick. No, it's not all about money, by the way, but that's definitely my driving force. That's your motivator.
That's my motivator. Yeah. Yes. All right.
Did you make those slides?
I did. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I did it on Google Slides. It was okay. So it literally, of course, Jim comes in and he is a strong red. And so he's like, you understand that I could have totally have done all that in a matter of 10 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, but by the time I wrote it all out and gave you the content, I could have already had it done. So it took me 4 hours yesterday, and I popped open a bottle of wine and because I was like, trying to deal with a Mac and then, the new computer and then that, but Google Slides, it was so easy because I have no clue how to do PowerPoint. So if you are familiar with like Drive, it was awesome and it's easy. And I can share it with you.
Well, I see where you got the information, like on the tests, it gives it to you. Yeah.
I got some from the tests and then some from just Googling. And then actually yesterday, what sparked this, I've been doing a lot of studying on different personalities and stuff, but I had a call with a Zoom call with 5-Star Diamonds yesterday. And so she put together a presentation. I was like, oh, but I could so do that. And so, so I just duplicated, I went through and wrote down and duplicated some slides. So it's pretty cool.
And so you just did, like when you started the Zoom call, you shared the Google slide and then you just went through?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So like and again, this was the first time I've ever done it. So like you can change your slides, but at the very top, there's like it says, play or something, I don't know, something like that. And, and it goes through the slideshow. So, because if I were to share like my Google, like my thing, you would have seen like all the stuff where it says you can add a subtitle and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that format too for calls almost better. I mean, I don't know if it would apply to everything, and it's obviously a lot of work, but I don't know. Just for people who are visual, I think it might help to see and like follow along at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was great because I'm that visual person. I need to hear and see. Yeah. And so that's why, I mean, and now like I'm all in and definitely I retain a lot more than just listening as well. So yeah, it took a lot of time, but as like this morning I finished the slides and it literally took me, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes to finish them up once I got the hang of it. But at first, geez Louise, because I'm focused and all over the place. And I'm like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. And so anyway, but so Google, I'll share the slides if you guys want it. Okay, well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I hope that it was beneficial to you. My advice is for you to have your spouse take this test, have your coaches take the test, have your challengers take the test. I mean, anybody that, even your friends, like I said, Natalie and I are polar opposites, but now, and we discovered that a couple weeks ago in our little small group, but we have learned how to deal with our personalities, her being so type A and me being all like scatterbrained. We know how to deal with each other now. And I hate to say deal, except the other personalities. So it's been very beneficial, even just on a friendship level. And learning where your friends' strengths are. So like Christy Jones is another, dear friend of mine. And while I have very, very little blue, and that's why like I'm so impatient and it drives me crazy when I'm dealing with a blue personality, because I'm like, stop being so insensitive. I'm like, you know where my heart is. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I just need to get this done and move on. And because I got too much stuff to do. And, learning how to talk to that type of personality, I've learned so much from her just with wording. So taking somebody else's strengths and making your weaknesses better. So been pretty awesome. So anyway, well, you guys, I appreciate you so much for being on this call. I will post the recording as soon as I figure out how to get this to YouTube. And Sharon, I will talk to you in about an hour.
Yes, I'll talk to you.
I know how to get it to YouTube. When you stop the recording, it's gonna you can drag. It'll come up in that little box because I have a Mac too, and you'll be able to have like a couple different options, and you'll just drag the file. Like once you open YouTube and hit upload, there's that middle screen.
Drag it over.
Yeah, just drag it over, and that's it.
Wait, so I don't have to like save it or anything like that?
No, just like once it's done uploading. In that little window, like the recording, just keep that box open because then you don't have to save it. You can just upload it to YouTube. Drag it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, you guys. Well, y'all have an amazing rest of the week. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here for you.
Bye.
Okay.